everyone, and I am the founder and the head coach here at the Women's Emotional Eating Community Support Group, where I teach women how to identify their invisible emotional relationship with food through a journey of self-discovery. The self-discovery part is really important because you've tried so many things in the past to fix this emotional eating issue because you have been informed that it's all about the food. You've also been informed that it's all about the way you look, what you do, what you buy at the store, how much motivation you have, whether or not you exercise, what size you're in, all of these things that you've been having a preconceived notion about are the things that drive you to feel awful about yourself when you feel like you failed over and over and over and over again. And this is where self-discovery will help you get to a new level of awareness. Because depending on what your awareness level is, meaning if you still think that a diet or a special meal plan or something where you eliminate your foods or something where you go on some teas or a cleanse or something like that is going to make long-term changes in your life, if you still think that, then that's okay. It's just that you're at a different level of awareness, not a bad level, just a different level of awareness. And chances are more than not that what I'm talking about is not going to make sense to you since you are at a different level of awareness than what I'm speaking about. And again, it's not a bad level. I was at that level for 30 years. And some of the things that I did in my 30 years of dieting did feel better to me physically. I had a lot of stomach issues. I had a lot of anxiety. I had sleeplessness. I had rashes. I had different things that my body was physically giving me a symptom of that were causing me to feel like, well, I better fix these symptoms because I have no choice. Like I'm sick. Like my body is hurting. I have joint pain and aches and cramps and muscle pains. And all I wanted to do was fix the symptoms. But I didn't realize that there was a new level of awareness, like fixing the symptoms was one way to look at it. And the way that I was looking at it when I was just trying to fix the symptoms was in a narrow mindset. Like I could only see two things in this mindset, my pain and what I was going to do to fix it. And that was it. Once I was able to open up a new level of awareness, meaning that I could see outside of the symptom versus what I thought I needed to do to fix that particular symptom, once I was able to open up a new level of awareness, well, then all of my options changed since my goals changed, right? I was no longer just trying to fix my broken stomach or my weight issues or my anxiety or my sleeplessness. Like I wasn't trying to fix that anymore. It wasn't a goal of mine. What I wanted to do was I wanted to understand why it was that I had those problems to begin with. And once I was able to open my mind to a new level of awareness, meaning before I didn't know that I could think about things in any other way. I thought that the way that I was thinking was the only way to think. And once I started on a journey of self-discovery, I started to realize that not only was that statement not true, meaning not only was it not true that my way of thinking was the only way to think, like number one, that wasn't true. Once I began to think that and I was like, oh, okay, so wait, I've been thinking this for 30 years and this isn't the only way to think. Okay, what's that about? Part of me wanted to shut down and be like, well, okay, but that's them and this is me. Like I'm thinking the way that I'm thinking. What? And yet at the same time, when I started to open up a new level of awareness to recognize that not only was my way of thinking not the only way to think, but my way of thinking was hurting me, and that my way of thinking was meant to hurt me. Then, only then, was I able to hear a new approach to my old way of doing things, since clearly my old way of doing things was not working for me anymore. So what I decided to do is I decided to continue to find solutions to new problems. And when I did that, the old problems, meaning how I felt and my weight and looking at the scale every day and going on a million diets and all that stuff, or thinking about food 24/7, or hiding food, sneaking around with my, chocolate from the Whole Food markets where I would just be like, doo doo doo, like go like this. And as long as I wasn't looking at what I just did, like seriously stealing chocolate out of the machine, like I didn't do it, right? It's kind of like the baby that's like, you can't see me, but you can, right? So I was seeing myself. I just wasn't seeing myself as a whole picture. I was only seeing a narrow picture. And so today the topic is called how to stop making to-do lists and how to start making don't-do lists. So this came the other day in one of my coaching sessions with my group. It's called Crush That Food Thing Self-Discovery System. And this is where I teach women how to open their mindset to a new level of awareness. Remember, the old level of awareness is not bad. It's just that if it's not working for you anymore, you have to be able to move freely into the future and especially live freely in the present. Because so many times what we say is we just want more control. So we keep making lists and we keep saying, well, I want to do this and I want to do that. And I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that. And we end up hurting ourselves with those lists just as equally as we're hurting ourselves with the diets if they're not working. Like I said, all the diets that I was on, they worked. They certainly worked. It's just that because I didn't recognize that my issues with weight, with stomach, with visually, like not being able to see myself clearly, like I knew I had a dysmorphic image of myself. I knew that what I was seeing was not correct. I just couldn't see the difference. And so I knew that I was lying to myself somewhere along the way. I didn't know where, and I didn't know how to fix it. The only way that I was able to fix it was when I broadened my view and I got to that new level of awareness. So now no longer was I trying to fix the problems that were in this lower level of awareness. I was trying to fix the problems that were on this larger scale. Once I did that, everything changed. And so the other day, as I was coaching some of my gals, one of the ladies struggles with anxiety and she had a real problem that day. And so my suggestion to her at that moment was like, just at that moment was like, change your vibration. And this is the first thing that I want you to think of when you are feeling like you are looking at that day to day and feeling overwhelmed with it. When you're feeling like you are not motivated and you have gotten nothing done and you have sat around all day, you've thumbed around on Facebook, you've watched Netflix, you've eaten, you've gone out of your way to drive, 10 miles out of your way to go to a donut shop that you don't even want to eat that. Or you've spent money that you don't want to spend or you don't have to spend, and you've gone and bought food to put into your body that's ultimately making you feel worse. And then you tell yourself that it's comfort food when clearly it's not comfortable. So we have all these mismatches going on. And sometimes when we look at our to-do list, the things that we want to do, we feel really like a loser. We're like, oh, I'm not doing any of that. And the greater my to-do list, the more overwhelmed I feel. And the more overwhelmed I feel, the more I want to eat, because the more that convinces me that I really can't do anything. And so it becomes this like abyss, like a whirlwind, like a just sucking you down. And so when we're feeling like that, the first thing you have to do is you have to change your vibration. And this is actually Tony Robbins training. It really is. That's actually where I've heard it from. But I've done it for myself without the training. So think about times that you have intuitively changed something. You didn't need anybody to tell you to do that. You just intuitively did it. And then maybe later you read it somewhere and you were like, oh wow, look at me. I did the right thing. I knew to do this in the past. I just did. I don't know how. I just did. Trust me, there was plenty of things that I needed a new level of awareness about. Listening to my intuition sometimes was one of them that I happened to be fairly connected with. I believed in those feelings that I would get. And I listened very clearly when I felt like something was wrong. And it was actually at the time in my life that I didn't listen to my intuition, that I pushed that intuition away. Those were the times that I actually had the worst struggle with my emotional eating issues. Those were the times where I was lying to myself the most, where I was lying to others the most, and where I was really, truly at the lowest low of my life, the most unhappiest place in my life. However, at that same time, that was when I looked like I had it all. And so when we're looking at our lists and the things that we have to do and the things that we want to do and such, sometimes that is a way to keep us distracted from really being able to open the picture and see what it is that we really need to do to fix our problems. See, at the time in my life where I actually felt like I was harming myself the most, I was so darn busy working and with the kids and this and that. I was all over the place, like really all over the place. And that list just kept growing and growing and growing and growing. And my expectations of myself were set so high, not even for me, because I felt that people relied on me. And I felt that people thought better of me. People came to me for advice. They wanted me to help them. I was a personal trainer. So, and people came, I was a massage therapist also. I'm still a massage therapist, but people will come to me with their problems. And I always knew how to fix everything, whether it was a friend or a client or my family members, my children. Everybody looked at me as solid ground. And so they would come to me for help. And I could not disappoint them. So I kept the list high. And I kept growing the list and growing the list and growing the list and growing the list. And what it felt like was it felt like I had this list. It was just above my head. And I wanted that list because I wanted to prove to the world and to myself that I was what they thought I was. But at the same time, I don't think I believed that. In fact, I know that I didn't believe that. Because just when I would feel like I would grab that ticket, I would fall back down and the ticket would get out of reach. It was like the golden ticket, here's where I'll be happy. And I would reach and it would go further, and I would reach and it would go further. And I kept trying to climb and climb and climb to get this feeling like I was good enough. Like I had done enough. Like I put so much on my list that there was no way in the world that anybody could think that I wasn't doing enough or that I wasn't good. Because I mean, clearly I made my list so ginormous that there was no way that I could still fall. The truth is that because I set myself up so high, I fell harder. Now, sometimes setting myself up high meant that I shelved myself on the bottom. It's interesting because they're the same thing. So whether you feel like you're an overachiever or whether you feel like you're an underachiever, you're the same. So it really doesn't matter which spectrum you fall on. If you're using this feeling about yourself, whether you have to stay up high to prove yourself or whether you have to stay down low because someone told you you had to, it doesn't matter. Both ways are you betraying yourself, and both ways are you making your expectations of yourself, whether they're high expectations or they're low expectations, you are taking those expectations of yourself and you are creating a situation for yourself that is difficult to break free from because you can't have both. And that's why I want to talk to you today about the difference between stopping making a to-do list and starting to make a don't do list. And this is a really interesting concept, so bear with me, okay? We're going to go through this. Getting back to my story about my client who was struggling the other day, and I told her to change the vibration. So what you have to do when you're first entering into a new mindset is you have to do something if you want to change the way you're feeling. And this is going to be added to the list. So this is kind of a preliminary example of what I mean by change your vibration. So let's say you're sitting and watching television and you've got the popcorn and you're just going and you can't stop. You don't know what to do to stop. What's interesting about it is if you change your vibration, meaning if you stand up and walk outside for 3 seconds, it doesn't matter if it's hot, it doesn't matter if it's cold, just something. Get up, take a walk. That will change your vibration. I don't mean a walk. I mean just literally get outside, get away from it, change your vibration. What I asked my client to do was I just simply asked, what's your favorite song? And she told me, and I told her, I want you to play that song 5 times in a row right now. And when you do something like that, it shifts your emotional energy and it allows you to be ready for something else. Because when you're in that mindset, that one that is narrow, you won't be able to shift your energy because your goal is very small. It's just to stay right inside this little line. Not very difficult. I mean, how hard is it to stay inside of this little space right here, right? Not too many options. If you're going to open up your mindset, however, the options become greater. But you won't be able to get those options if you're still sitting in the narrow. So you've got to get up, you've got to move, you've got to change something, because if you're going to keep your mindset closed, you won't be able to receive any new thoughts. It's not possible to have both. So the same thing is true about too many things in your mind, too many things on your plate. You cannot have both. I would love to tell you you can. You can't. Not all the time anyways. And you'll have to decide for yourself when both are useful and when both are necessary. It's just that they can't be done at the same time. Meaning you can't sit there and create a list for yourself, whether it be to do too much or to do too little, and then at the same time say that you want to make these changes, but yet you're not doing anything to make the changes because you're so intent on having that be your list. And so I'm going to give you some examples. When we have a to-do list, we think about things like, I've got to lose weight. Check on the to-do list. I've got to get my weight down from, this much to this much. So we have these tangible numbers in our mind. And so if we get to that goal, weight, then what we end up doing is we end up sabotaging it because the goal is done. So because you've set a certain number in your mindset, and actually it's on your to-do list, it actually causes you to then take that number and turn it into something that will be heading in a different direction so that then you can redo the goal over and over and over and over, which is why we never stay in that place. It's always about homeostasis, but because we tend to put ourselves in a success failure mode, when we reach that number, if we can't stay there, which we're not going to stay there, because I tell you, I exercise, I always have. So I could wake up in the morning and weigh one weight, go to work out if I'm sweating a lot, come back, lose 6 pounds, and then if I weighed myself in the evening, maybe I would have put on 8. Your body is full of fluids. So I don't really know why we get so caught up in that like little minuscule, like point 0.6, point 0.2. And I know all these programs out there, the Weight Watchers, the Doctor's Quick Weight Loss, the whatever is like want that number on the scale to go down. But I promise you that when you're thinking about your chemistry in your body, like it doesn't even make sense. You're supposed to be in homeostasis. You're supposed to fluctuate, period. End of story. You should have a fluctuation of at least 5 to 8 pounds and not worry about it at all. Once you're at your healthy body weight, you won't ever have to think about this stuff anymore. I never get on the scale anymore. And if I do, I am 100% confident, because I trust myself now, that I will not be using that number to destroy my day. Period. So whatever the number is, it's fine. It's not going to make a difference in my day. Now you might be looking and you might be saying, well, of course, Lisa, you're thin. That's fine. However, I will tell you that remember the spectrums, right? When you're doing a list where you have these high achievements, or you're doing a list where you have low achievements, it's the same thing. So even if you're overweight and possibly, you're looking at me and saying, well, you're not overweight. I promise you that in my life, I've never been overweight. I was underweight because I struggled with the other spectrum, but our problems were the same and we felt the same and we had the same disgust and disdain for ourselves. And it doesn't matter what the weight is. Weight is a symptom of an underlying problem. So it doesn't matter if you're here or here, it doesn't matter. If you're using your to-do list, like what you think you have to do in your life in order to be a happy human being, if you're using that list to hurt yourself, well, then you're part of that spectrum. And that spectrum is a very narrow-minded way of thinking. So we want to open up the mindset and we want to do a don't do list. So this is my don't do list. If I want to, think about these words. If I want to, I will have to choose to not do these things, and I'll fill in the blank. If I want to stay true to myself, if I want to be a part of my integrity, not betray my integrity, if I want to stay connected with me, if I want to be wholehearted and kind, meaning that I don't get to be like this skippity-doo-dah perfect girl holding the door for somebody. Come on in, ma'am. I'm such a nice person. And then go home and look in the mirror and be like, you're a piece of shit. I don't get to do both. That's not fair. It's not fair to put this beautiful person that you are out into the world and then take it all away from yourself the minute you get home. That's not okay. So you can't have both. You can't have this to do, like, I'm a great person. I'm going to do good things for people. I'm going to help everybody. I'm going to be a people pleaser. I'm going to make certain that nobody has any crisis, that I'm going to make sure that I take care of everybody. You can't do that and at the same time come home in your own space, in your own little world, and tell yourself how bad you are or what you've done wrong, right? You can't do both, period. So we want to take away the to-do list, all of the things that you would feel are on your goal list. Like I said, I need to lose weight. I need to get a certain size. I need to stop eating junk food. I need to start eating healthier. These are your to-do lists, right? So think about your to-do list. Think about what it is that you're not doing now that you want to do. And then I want you to think about what it is that you're going to have to stop doing if you want to honor your desire to be able to fulfill that to-do list, because you can't have both. So this is my don't do list, because I know that I want to stay true to myself. I know that I want to feel good as a human being. I know that I want to do nice things for people, but I also want to be nice to myself. I know that I want to wake up excited every day. I want to feel energized. I want to be responsible for myself, which just means that I'm going to respond to myself in a nice way because I am capable of doing that. If I'm capable of doing it for someone else, I am certainly capable of doing it for myself. Doesn't make sense otherwise. How would I even know how to do nice things for someone else if I didn't know how to do nice things? And if I know how to do nice things, like why wouldn't I want to use them on myself? It doesn't make sense. Trust me, it doesn't make sense. So think about this. This is my don't do list. I don't scroll Facebook following people who appear to have a better life than me. I used to do this because for years I was in triathlon and I was a big triathlete. I've done Ironman. So this was my world. And at the time, it felt really good. But then when I stopped doing it and I made a choice to stop doing it, I started to feel separated. And so I would see the posts and the things and be like, oh, they raced today. And then I felt myself judging them. I was like, oh, they're wasting their time racing. I don't do that anymore. Waste of my time. So I started to become a judge of people that were doing the same thing that I did for years. That wasn't nice. It didn't feel nice either. Trust me. Think about if you're looking at stuff and you see a friend and she's remodeled her house, posted the picture, and you're like, good for her. And you feel good for her, but then there's this little underside that feels something else. You don't know what it is. It's just something. Who knows? However, at the same time, if you're trying to work on being nice to yourself and kind to yourself, you're gonna want to clear that kind of energy out of your system. And so if you find that you are scrolling and that is just feeling like a disconnect, you're gonna have to do something about it. I did a Facebook cleanse where I literally only follow the groups that are important to me and that make me feel good and that brighten my day. Don't stop following my group. And I unfollowed. I literally unfollowed, just like went through the list. It was like unfollow. And if I bump into somebody in the supermarket or something and they're like, oh, did you see like Jimmy graduated high school? And I'm like, actually, I don't follow anybody on Facebook. So tell me about it. Like, I want to know. I would rather see if I'm supposed to know something, it's going to be because I hear it from the person who is actually alive, not the Facebook picture. And so that's just from me. Like I said, this is my don't do list, because if I'm sitting there looking at stuff and judging people and then judging myself against those people, how is that going to work out for me? It's not, because I'm going to feel like garbage and then I'm going to want to eat garbage. I don't want to eat garbage, so I have to clear my head, right? Okay, so that's number one. Number two, I don't watch the news. It really hurts my mindset. I know the news. I skim it. I'm part of a group called The Skim. I skim it. But if I sat there and watched it all day and then got angry and got anxious and got irritated and got judgmental and got, closed in my mindset, it would hurt me. I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing here and be authentic. I wouldn't be able to do both. I can't be authentic and be judgmental. It doesn't work. So I don't watch the news. I don't listen to people who gossip. As soon as someone starts talking about someone else, I remove myself from the conversation. I don't judge them. It's what they're doing. I'm not interested in it. I don't want to talk gossip about people. It doesn't work for me. I don't eat dead food. I really try to not eat food that's not energized, meaning that it wasn't grown from the ground or once swimming around somewhere or picked from a tree. Like, I want my food to have energy because I want to have energy. So if I'm eating dead food, well, how's that going to work, right? I can't have both. I can't sit there and eat a dead hamburger that's sitting on a burner for decades, like in a coming out of a freezer thing that's got chemicals in it and all kinds of. I can't have both. I can't eat dead food and then want to feel alive. Like, it's a contradiction, right? So I really, as much as I can, I go off of not a statistic, but at the same time, like if I was going to think about it logically, I would think probably 90% of the time I eat live foods, and about 10% of the time I'm at a birthday party or I'm at an anniversary dinner or I'm something, and or I'm just going to get ice cream with my family, and I enjoy my 10%, and that works beautifully for me. So that's on my don't do list. I don't stay up too late. I used to. I used to stay up all night, and I used to like divert my attention. Like I would be going to bed because I was so tired, but then I would be like, "Oh, I'll do laundry," and that was part of my things. So I do not do that anymore. I don't watch too much television. Sitting in that space and watching someone else's life or something else happening, it doesn't work well for me. I can't seem to do both. If you enjoy television, that's beautiful. It is. This is just on my list. So I'm not giving you suggestions. I'm sharing my list with you so that you can make healthy decisions for yourself. You have to know what works best for you. For some people, television is an important part. In fact, I had one gal who was working with me that she was starting to judge herself for watching TV. And we made a whole entire training with her on this, a coaching session with her on this, of how it's all okay for her to sit down and watch television. And for her, that was actually a wonderful thing. So everybody has to navigate through what's important to them. At this moment in my life, that doesn't work for me. It's on my don't do list. I don't watch scary movies. Now, again, everybody's different. For me, I end up having nightmares. So if I watch something scary, lo and behold, that evening I'm tossing and turning and I've got like ugly thoughts in my head and I end up having nightmares. So it doesn't work for me. Right now, I don't read fiction. That's a choice. I think fiction is amazing. I, right now, am more focused on self-help and natural books and learning about nutrition and the things that I like to learn about. So right now, on my don't do list for myself, because it takes me out of my life if I'm reading fiction. So right now, it doesn't work for me. At some parts of my life, it will work better. I don't shop for food in stores that can suck the energy out of me. So I will hit a Walmart or a chain store like that if I'm buying maybe cosmetics or cleaning supplies or plates or decorations or something. But for my food, just for my food source, I really try and shop in places that I feel a live energy in, which might be more of a sustainable place, possibly like a Whole Foods or something that at least has some less commercial energy in it. For me, that's important. I don't dwell on the past. Anytime that I start to think about the past, I don't think about the past anymore now, but when I was learning how to navigate through this list that was healthy to me, I had to change my vibration if I started to think about the past. So just like I said at the beginning, to change your vibration, if you start to think about the past and you can't seem to get it out of your mind, immediately get up, go do something. I don't care what you have to do. Put water on your face, get up and walk outside, pick a flower, like I don't care what it is, spray some perfume on your arm and smell it. Anything to get you present and out of the past, do immediately. You've got to change your vibration at that moment until that thought passes. I don't allow myself to daydream. I used to daydream a lot, and I would create scenarios in my head. I would have conversations in my head with people that I wasn't talking to at that moment, and that was really, really horrible for me. I didn't realize it until I opened my mindset a little bit more, but once I did, I realized how absolutely detrimental that was to my health. It was terrible for me. So I had to change that. And whenever I start to daydream, I say, "Oh, nope, Lisa, stop." And I think about something now. I don't allow myself to worry about things I cannot change. And I know people struggle with anxiety. I know that this is real. And yet at the same time, even if something current is happening, I will tend to stay focused on what I'm doing. And as I am faced with needing to figure out a solution for that problem at the time, I will figure it out at the time. And so I don't churn things in my head and say, well, if I did this, then I would, and if I did this, then because then I'm creating fake scenarios that aren't real. I have to actually see what happens and how I'm going to handle it at that moment, or else I'm just wasting energy trying to figure out what this one's going to do. If I do that, I used to like manipulate situations to get the end result that I thought I wanted. It was almost like one of those read your own chapter books where you'd like go to page 63 if you want to go to have this conversation with the mailman, and I would do that, and it was really harmful for me. I don't judge myself. I do not judge myself. I never look in the mirror and go like, oh, Lisa, what do you look like? I never, ever do that. And that has been something that I've had to practice over and over and over, because you can break those habits through the exact same way that they were created, which is through repetition. I don't focus on the negative. I don't eat or drink chemicals. I don't make excuses. I don't blame others for my problems. I don't allow myself to stay indoors all the time. I have to get out. I don't allow myself to say mean things to myself. So this is just an idea of a list for you. So what is your don't do list? You cannot have both. So what is it that you're going to do to change your vibration, to make certain that you are widening your lens of your vision of what you say you want? And in order to get what you say you want, what will you have to stop doing? Right? Because you see on this list, I cannot have both, and neither can you. So let's just decide together what it is that you want on your don't do list. And you can certainly post it in the chat, because I would love to see at least 3 things that are going to be on your don't do list in the comments section of this video. All right. Thank you much. I will talk to you next time. Bye now.